welcome to another FaceHAMMER show.
Hello.
We're going to be talking about all things stunty and shooty, and we're not talking 40k.
No, I guess relevant comment these days now. Yeah.
It is. We have to clarify that now with the squats, not squats. We're going to talk about KHARADRON Overlords.
Yeah, not something we speak about much.
No, not for a long time.
They're kind of there's normally 1/2 max armies per event, sometimes 0.
Yeah, they're not the most popular, and I think because the way they play the game, that's probably why. I remember back to the clown car days, they were pretty diversive, and I built and painted an army, played an event, and then put them in the attic. So, not really.
Not for you.
Well, I love them, but at the same time, I don't. So, who knows?
Does that mean you love how they look and the theme of them, but you don't like how they play?
Yeah, pretty much. Just needs more combat options for me. But anyway, it's,
I always thought they should have a charge bonus. Thought it'd make a massive difference to them and just how they played and give people an incentive to actually get them into combat or something.
Yeah, exactly. So we thought we'd just try and do a competitive KO list, and I did ask on the last show if anyone had any to put them in below, and we didn't really get any response. But I saw a tweet from Mike LR, who I've played at a Carnage event, basically shouting out a chap in America with a KO list who went 5-0, which turns out is Jeremy Veyesseire. I'm going to say that wrong. You can correct me. And the ex-AOS American captain going 5-0 with a custom Skyport at an event in America. So thought we'd look at his list. And also talk through the White Dwarf update, which was in issue 475, because we haven't covered that. So we'll do the White Dwarf update, then we'll go look at his list, then we'll talk about stuff in the list, and then how KO can compete in the new handbook, because a chap called Gideon messaged us and said, like, you know, how do you build a competitive KO list, basically? And we don't play them,
we could give it a stab.
Someone else did, so we can steal their list and give our thoughts.
I've got some guesses about how you do it, and they seem to fairly nicely match the list of your man who's gone 5-0. So yeah, I think we can have a stab at it, a decent one.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do in this show. So as ever, focus on match play, and I think probably a caveat if you're new to KO and you're watching this because you want to start with KO, we will cover where the rules are, because like most AOS factions, they are not in one place. So you have to be a bit of a war scroll detective to work out where stuff is. So
the other part of it is your opponents might not be able to help you as much as with other armies, because they play very uniquely, don't they, the KO? They've got quite a lot of kind of fundamental breakings of the core principles of the game in terms of how far they can move and how they can move and when and where, and they've got really long range shooting and stuff like that, so they're a pretty unique army.
Yeah, they use a lot of complicated rules like garrisons and fly highs and disengage and things like that, so it's like, you know, it's a bit tricky to get used to them, and they're kind of one of those armies that can very quickly get sort of destroyed, but conversely can also shoot off people quite easily. So it's
very good at fast games, one way or the other.
Yeah, I guess so. So it's probably a good idea to just talk about the White Dwarf update. So the White Dwarf update is in issue 475, and it's very small. So all that really is the Arcanaut Admiral War Scroll. And really the key thing that changed from the battle tome is you've got this Aether powered munition rule. So basically you can choose during each game, so after players receive their starting command points, before the start of the first turn, you can pick one of the following munitions, and essentially you're probably always going to be taking Celestian Burst Grenade unless your opponent doesn't have a ward, and that is once per battle. You can pick an enemy within 12 and on a 2+, they can't take ward saves.
Pretty solid, right?
So it's pretty good at killing that key hero, unit, monster, whatever.
Very often it's just 1 or 2 instances of that in an army, and being able to deal with one of them or half of them is great.
Yeah. And then the other thing you can do is you can take this Drac Hobbler. So you can pick a enemy monster within 12, and on a 2+ is grappled and only charges 1d6 instead of 2d6.
Great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
We know from Lord of Khorne that makes a bit of a difference when you make people's charges half as good.
Yeah, and it's until you end your opponent's next turn. So if you double them, then it's still going to be in effect if they're still alive. But I don't know how useful that is, because essentially you can move. You're going to be close, so they'll be free away.
Whether you want
it's
him
like
now or not.
free up to charge if they got bonuses. So the other one is Grudge Breaker rounds. So start the shooting phase, pick a KHARADRON Overlord unit, hold within 12 of this unit that's not a sky vessel. Improve the rend of the unit missile weapons by 1. Which is okay, but the Arcanauts aren't particularly good at shooting, so
no.
You've got to protect the Admiral rule. I'm not sure if that was there before, but that's like a bounce, so you can bounce wounds. He's got a 3-up armor save and 6 wounds, so he's pretty good. You know, a 9-inch range free shot weapon. He's pretty okay in combat. You know, 3 attacks, freeze 2s, rend 2 damage free. So
yeah, pretty solid kind of like generic armored order profile, isn't it?
Yeah, and he wasn't really seen in lists, and now you do see him. So obviously the desired effect to see him taken in lists. The other thing in the update is the grand strategies and the battle tactics. So your Master of the High Air grand strategy is when the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if no unit in your army has a share of Aether-gold that has not been spent, and at least 1 share of Aether-gold was spent by friendly units in every battle round. So I'm not sure if you get killed before you spend your Aether-gold, whether you'd fail or not, because technically they're part of your army, but they're dead, so it's a bit...
No unit in your army has... It doesn't say on the battlefield, so I guess they do count. If they killed, you lost it.
Yeah. It's a bit strange.
Pretty risky. Yeah.
I don't think you'll be using it, basically.
No.
You've got these battle tactics. You've got a bombing run, pick an enemy unit, complete this battle tactic, it's destroyed by a friendly model using the bomb rack ability, which is like a D3 mortal wounds if you're like if they're in melee with you. So maybe
if you had multiple units in contact with something that there wasn't much left of. It's not right, like it's one of those ones where it's not particularly doable until it's doable, when it, you know, it may be almost a dead cert.
Yeah, it's when you've got like one model left with a wound in combat with you or something, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You've got mobilize the fleet. Can't do it in the first battle round, but pick 3 friendly units on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if those units are all garrisoned within sky vessels. It's fairly easy, that one.
Yeah.
Because you could pick it on turn 2. You just don't get out of the sky vessel, and units are characters too. So you just go, well, I've got 3 characters and a unit in this.
I put these 2 arbitrary characters in a battle line.
They're not getting out, so that's done. And that's quite good to have one like that that's just instant, no risk. You know, you're not getting out of the boat.
Your opponent can't interact with that either. They can't negate that.
And you've got boots on the ground, pick 3 units, garrison within sky vessel, complete this battle tactic at the end of the turn if all those units are wholly within enemy territory. So it's cut off there, but that's basically what it says. So you just drop off out of enemy territory, which again is fairly easy to do.
Because turn 2 and 3, you could have that as a plan in quite a lot of games, couldn't you?
Yeah. So both of those are quite good. The bombing rack one is kind of maybe, but with that's probably enough. With the generic
you only need a couple of solid ones, particularly given that mobilize the fleet is pretty flexible, really.
Yeah. You've got formations. No one really is going to use them. Because they're not 1-drops, so, and going first is probably more important than anything with KO or dictating the turn.
Yeah,
because
it likes the mesh in it.
You just don't want. Peeking. Well, you say that, but my Slanesh army is 10 drops, but you know, it's a bit of a different army than normal though. So, yeah, I don't know if you will run those formations, but you know, they're there if you want to. But the Iron Sky Attack Squadron is kind of useful because it gives you Magnificent plus Swift, and it's like frigates and dudes, no characters, so generally you'll be able to put that in most armies, and it gives you access to an artifact if you don't want.
They've got quite nice stuff to pick from as well.
Yeah, so, they do. We'll see when we look at Jeremy's list that he's got around that a certain different way, but to get 2 artifacts in his list. But yeah, anyway, so that's the White Dwarf update. So not that exciting, but the Admiral change is pretty big, and obviously getting some battle tactics is useful. And I thought I would just remind people about Broken Realms Be'lakor.
It's another book. Wow.
Because like it's 1 page in Broken Realms Be'lakor, which is KHARADRON Overlords Guild Triumphs. So you think triumphs, you only get 1 in your army. What's the point in that? KHARADRON Overlords get something called Aether-gold, which they can spend to get a triumph effect on a unit. So although you don't have it in your list, you can use all these triumphs with Aether-gold. So it's like it's like a resource mechanic. It's like a command ability, but not a command ability that you use a different resource for. The Aether-gold mechanics in the main rule, in their rulebook. So you've got this Aether-gold. Each KHARADRON Overlord hero, sky vessel, and unit with 10 or models gets 1 Aether-gold. Once per phase, 1 unit from your army that has any shares can spend 1 of them, and then you subtract 1 for the bravery for the rest of the battle, and then you can pick a triumph and apply its effects. So you can use the generic triumphs, and Broken Realms Be'lakor gave you some special ones. Now, there's a couple in here which are really good. So you've got the Aether Chemist Guild ones. So you've got the Aether Chemist ability, which is his augmentation ability. You can spend his Aether-gold to make it overcharged. So you can pick 1 Skyfarer unit wholly within 18 of that model instead of 12, I think it is. If he's got the Chemist Supreme, it's 2 units. But they can also be used if they're in a garrison and the Skyfarers are in the same garrison. So normally you can't use this ability if you're not garrisoned if you have to be on the table, but this allows you to do it with a garrisoned unit. Which is super good. Now what it does, and you have to kind of forgive the jumping around with rules because I'm not an expert on this. It's been a long time since I played KO. In fact, it was the old book and I've not played them in this one.
And they just had all their rules in one place.
Yeah. And they didn't have like many rules. So the Aetheric augmentation is that you get to re-roll wound rolls of 1 for attacks by that unit.
Pretty powerful.
So reroll wound rolls of 1. So you can basically say, I'm going to spend my Aether-gold on my Aether Chemist on the Skyfarers in the boat. Reroll 1s to wound. Once per battle. Once per phase.
Skyfarer units if you're Supreme.
Yeah, but you won't take that. No, Jeremy's not taking that, I should say. So then the other ability is large caliber augmentation. So once per battle, when a sky vessel that has an Aether Chemist in its garrison is picked to shoot, you can say they will perform a large caliber augmentation. So you pick 1 missile weapon it's armed with, you can reroll wound rolls of 1 for that weapon until the end of the phase. So again,
more reliability, isn't it?
Yeah, and what's important about this is that it's when the sky vessel shoots. So it's the sky vessel's Aether-gold, not the Aether Chemist's Aether-gold that you're spending. You just have to have an Aether Chemist in the boat.
Got to be in proximity.
Yeah. Then you've got navigator ones. So you've got one which is once per battle. before an Aetheric Navigator attempts to dispel an end spell or unbind a spell, you can focus their Aether Sight and re-roll that casting or unbinding roll. So dispelling or unbinding roll, I should say. So that's super good because there's those must-stop spells, and you can see the roll and say, actually, I need to stop that, or I need to get rid of their Purple Sun, which is more likely nowadays, as it seems to be Age of Purple Sun at the moment. I think every army's got Purple Sun. I don't know, like if you've seen, but it's
not surprising. Let's face it.
No. So that's pretty good. Obviously, that's the Aether Chemist Gold. Then you've got Ride the Storm. So once battle before an Aetheric Navigator that's in a Sky Vessel garrison uses their Aether Storm ability, you say that Ride the Storm, add d6 inches to that Sky Vessel's move until the end of the turn, and you can reroll run and charge rolls. Now, again, this is quite good if you take the battering ram on the boat, because you roll a dice for your charge roll, and every 4 up is mortal, so you can re-roll that to get a better
quite a lot of impact hits
to get a better roll, so you can try and get a higher number basically. The Engineers one is all about healing. You know, we have, the list hasn't got a engine rigger or a engine master, so they're not applicable. But obviously you can read them yourselves, and if you put it in your list. I don't want to go through every rule because there's tons.
Quite a ruley book.
Yeah. So let's just go over to the list now that we've covered. Aether-gold, triumphs, where stuff lives. So the list that Jeremy took is KO, obviously. He's not taken a Skyport, so he's taking a generic non-affiliated one, so he can choose his footnote article, and so they got like a code. You get like 3 elements of a code. You can pick and choose what you want, and you're not forced to take any artifact. If you took one of the Skyports, you've gone for
heavy on the customization and no restrictions.
Yeah, and I think because you're leaning on the generic stuff like Arcane Tome, you know, being able to get extra Aether-gold, get an extra artifact without pigeonholing your artifact choices or having to take a formation to unlock more artifacts. You could take Magnificent, but your drops is going to go up and up and up and up. And this is a battle regiment with 2 additional frigates. So basically it's a 3-drop army. And I think with the way the game is at the moment, not many armies will be 1-drop, because people are going to be using Galatian Veteran, Expert Conquerors, or Bounty Hunters. So at least one of those. So generically most lists will be 3-drop at the minimum, I think. But time will tell. But that's where I see it. So his grand strategy is take what's theirs, which is have more units in their deployment zone. He's got Inspired Triumph, and he's only got 1960 points spent on his army, so that's probably quite likely. And that's with the +1 to wounds Triumph. Obviously quite important when you're shooting.
Oh, it's huge. I think it makes much more of a difference in armies that have got shooting.
And so the KHARADRON code that he's got is, so you get the article, which is Master of the Skies, which is reroll hit rolls of 1 for sky vessels, a target unit that can fly.
Solid.
I mean, most stuff in the game flies that you want to shoot at.
All the things that you care about the most have a high likelihood of it, so works out fine.
And it's all your sky vessels attacks. So it's, if you've predominantly lent into sky vessels, which I think most KO armies are, like 3 units of 10 minimum core, and the rest is all sky vessels from what I've seen.
Yeah, feels like
recently.
It these days.
I've not seen, I think there are some lists that take a lot of bubble men, but I don't think they're as popular anymore.
They're pretty quite hard to play well. I think you pay quite a lot for them.
Yeah, they are. Pricing and reinforcement kind of screws them over as well, because you don't get the Aether-gold unless you've got 10 models, and they can't have 10 models because you can't reinforce them 3 times. So they max they can be as 9. So it's like you'd never get Aether-gold. So I think people just take the boats. So because you get all the movement shenanigans with boats. So it's anyway. So then the amendment is always take what you are owed, and that's pick D3 different KO units in your army. They get an additional Aether-gold share. So obviously, I don't know because I haven't watched him play. I imagine it's probably on the Chemist and maybe on 2 of the boats if he gets a free, or it's on the Chemist, then the Ironclad, then maybe a frigate, or it's the Ironclad and the Chemist. I don't know what the priority is on that. I haven't played it, so
when do you roll? When do you roll for that? Is it?
So pick up to D3. Don't know. It doesn't say. Maybe the FAQ says.
Yeah, you could like deploy, roll your D3 and be like, actually, I don't like where that guy is, therefore I'll do that or something. So
it says when you pick, you roll D. It says D3 amendment, pick up to D3 that's in your army. I guess it's when you receive Aether-gold. So.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Start the battle, I guess. I mean, that's what I would start the battle, because you can't roll it on your list, can you? Oh yeah, roll a 5.
No,
no,
exactly.
It's gonna have to be start of the battle. So before you start doing anything, basically, you'd know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Answers on a postcard on that one. There might be something in the FAQ. I was just having a quick look through, but so on page 61, I can't see any errata on there. Maybe there's a question, but probably not.
Someone can let us know below.
I would say it's the start of the battle. But
yeah. And then his footnote is there's no trading with some people.
Yeah, so that's once per battle, a friendly KO unit that has run and or retreated can still shoot and or charge.
So it's got a theme in his army, which is making the most of the reliability of the things that you have. Which is really important with KO. You've got to, if something doesn't work out for you, you really are going to get punished, especially when your army has 30 dudes and 3 characters, and otherwise it's just boats.
Yeah, and the boats do get a rule they can disengage, but once they start to take a certain number of wounds, they can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But obviously you could use this to get around that problem. So I don't know how that works with a boat with men in it. So, interesting.
It's going to be a tacky list, isn't it? I mean, look at it.
Yeah.
Even looking at it, I'm like, oh my god.
It's just KO for you.
What's he on his characters then? Is that the end of the tricks, or is he carrying on? He's obviously carrying on, isn't he?
Yeah, so you've got an Aether Chemist who's a general. He's got the command trait Collector, which allows you to take an additional artifact. He's got the artifact Spell in a Bottle, for obvious reasons, which allows you to basically unleash an endless spell with it. It can't be stopped. And obviously, in the Age of Purple Sun, pretty powerful.
All right. It's all right, isn't it?
Because you can basically do that and then can make everything around you -1 armor save, and also have a chance at just one shot in big things or characters. So
yeah, it might fit into KO the best of any army, and the fact that it can go off without being able to stop.
Anyone who's got a lot of shooting and you can't stop it, it's just amazing. So
absolutely.
I think, let me just double check what it says, because I'm remembering what it was, and these change sometimes. So pick an endless spell. You must pay the points. Once per battle, the bearer can automatically cast the endless spell. Do not roll 2d6. It cannot be unbound. There you go.
Yes. He's got the Burning Head in there as well, for his Arcane Tome Admiral. So an all right magic phase in terms of impact level, if not volume. He's got a quality over quantity. And
the Navigator can unbind and dispel as well. So he's actually got like 2 unbinds. Decent. One with a potential reroll, plus an automatic cast, Purple Sun.
Yeah.
So
this army's about making an impact, I guess. So you pick an area of the table and you make stuff happen there.
And like the AoE, like -1 armor save is just great.
Oh, it's insane. Like KO are pretty decent at Rend anyway. And the places where they're not decent at Rend, that makes a really big difference. So absolutely massive.
Yeah. And then we've got basically 3 to 10 battle line, which you have to take.
Absolute vanilla basic bitch battle line.
Then it's just all boats. So
it's got 2 gun haulers with drill cannons. They're so cheap, aren't they? 155.
Yeah.
And then 2 frigates, heavy sky cannons, plenty cannons, and an ironclad, great sky cannon, and great engine works. Zonderkorp deal breaker battle ram.
Yeah, and that's the charge 4 up.
Yeah,
do immortal. So what's good about that is that obviously you can retreat and charge, and you can re-roll it.
Add D6 to it as well.
There's D6 to then move.
Move, okay.
Not their charge, but you can obviously re-roll in the charge and stuff. So pretty good. So you can almost like use the ironclad to like mortal wound people.
It's like a battering ram, isn't it?
Yeah, and then you can put the 10 Arcanauts in the ironclad with the heroes, so then the 2 frigates can have 2 units of 10 Arcanauts in, and then the gun haulers have a ward save bounce if they're near a ship.
Oh, nice.
So they give the other ship a ward save. So let me just go to that now.
Little ablative wounds. It looks like a big army, doesn't it, when you're looking at it? But that's because there's just 270 points spent in 30 very cheap battle line, and then the rest is, apart from 3 again cheap characters, what they add up to, like barely 300 points. It's just boats. There is 1,300 points of boats in there, and then some endless spells.
Yeah. So the gun hauler's got drill cannons, which single shot, freeze, rend 3, damage D3. But if you roll a 5 to hit, it just does 3 mortal wounds. And if you're shooting something that flies, you're rerolling 1s. So there's a good chance you're just going to do flat 3 mortals with the drill cannon. It's got the escort vessel rule, which is roll 1 dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to a friendly sky vessel other than a gun hauler. While it's within 3 of any gun haulers on a 6, it's negated. So it's not like you pass the wound onto it, you just ignore it. So it gives you a ward save on your boats, basically. So you can deploy and have your gun haulers and your frigates basically like a W. And then you're protecting all of your boats, basically. And then you're double protecting. If they kill 1 gun hauler, there's still another one in range of the ironclad. So
that's a lot of shots absorbed as well. If someone's ploughed enough in to kill both of those and still have some left over, you definitely did a good job blunting that. Otherwise, if they had got to shoot what they want, you just get mullered.
Yeah, and they can do that once per game, move 18 as well, so they can get to where they need to be.
Speedy. Absolutely.
They're disengaged as well, so they can retreat and still shoot as long as the enemies within that can fly. They've got the bomb racks as well, so roll on a 4+ attack D3 mortals. So, and that's at the start of the combat phase. So you charge.
Nice at the start. Yeah.
If you charge all your boats into 1 unit, you could probably do quite a lot of mortals before they even get to swing. So, and obviously they're garrisons, so your Arcanaut can fight from the boat, so can your heroes, and they're -1 to hit, and they get +1 save because they're in a garrison. So, obviously, if the boat just gets destroyed, it's bad news. But yeah, so the gun haulers I actually think are really good for their points.
155, it's great.
You know, good save, 10 wounds, move fast, got a good gun on them.
Great move,
great rules. I've got other war scores.
Annoying,
here, but we're not looking at those.
Like annoying for your opponent. Having something that you spent that little on that can irritate people that efficiently, get into the positions it wants to, you know, like sneak something on an edge, force people to have to retreat when maybe they really didn't want to do that. Yeah, really solid options. 310 points for 2 is a bargain.
Yeah, and you've got the frigates, which are basically just like they're like an upgraded version. So they've essentially got a lot of the same rules. Yeah, I mean they've got the disengage and that, but they can actually garrison models, whereas the gun hauler can't unless you take the great engine work. So they're a flying transport. So basically, you can put up to 15 models. If you've put 11 or more, then it messes with its movement. So you probably just put 10 Arcanauts in. And then any attack that's in range, it's basically like a garrison, so it works the same. as a garrison, so they can still shoot and fight. They just can't contest objectives while they're in the boat. So if you're in the boat, it's just catch power 2. But if you get out, then obviously you'd be in whatever your models are, 10 models, whatever. They have FAQ'd KO because the issue you had with the transport, you had a problem with the timing because you have to get out the end of the movement phase.
Oh yeah,
and then
awkward, wasn't it?
You wouldn't be able to move because the end of the movement phase, and they've FAQ'd that in the most recent FAQ. I know there's some discussion about does this mean something else, but basically what it basically means is that you can move after you get out if you haven't moved already, which makes sense.
Yeah, it's always hopefully going to be that way.
Yeah, exactly. So the only change really is that, and the question about if I take an extra enhancement, can I take an additional great engine work? Which is yes.
Fill your boots, guys.
Yeah, if you want to. So that's that. Then obviously one of the good things about it's got the sky cannon. You've got a choice of shots. So one shot which is freeze 2's rend 2 damage d6, or d6 shots freeze rend 1 damage 2. Not sure what the best option is. It depends what you're fighting against, I guess.
Yeah, it does. It depends on your options. If you've popped your purple sun, like you know, there's quite a lot of flexibility in the list, isn't there?
Then you've got the Aether shot carbines, which are just 4 shots freeze rend 1 damage 2, which you just get to shoot as well as the Bane gun. So the shooting from it is pretty good, considering when you've got the 10 Arcanauts shooting out of it as well.
Yeah, it really adds up.
Yeah, and obviously you've got the fly high drop, and you can heal 1 wound. To these get to heal 1 wound in your hero phase. Obviously,
a nice thing where you've got so many different sources of shooting, you're probably not going to over allocate anywhere either.
No, and what I like about the KO now is having lots of boats means you can still concentrate fire, but don't have to be stood next to each other.
Yeah.
Whereas the clown car was like drop one boat with all your men, and you're in one big blob, and then they charge the blob and kill it all.
It's in this space.
Whereas now you can be like, I'm here, and they all shoot in
long
like
range as
this
well.
gun in there, and then the carbine's here, and then these guys shoot this unit, and because the units have got like a repeater gun, but they've also got a skyhook, and they've also got pistols. So I think the pistols might be 9-inch range. You can't fly high, drop and shoot, but I might be wrong. Let me.
Yeah, I don't think they're too long. They're also not. They're not great, if I recall correctly.
I know, but weight of fire is weight of fire,
9.
right? Yeah. So
yeah, 4s and 4s, 0 rend, 1 damage. But
yeah, but the 6 shots from the volley gun, 5s, 4s, rend 1 damage, 1 shot from the skyhook. So.
Plenty of peppering. Like if you come up against someone with squishy infantry, they're actually really quite good. I play with them a bit myself, and they do have the potential to surprise you, especially if you pop a triumph or something. You know, like, oh, I need that dead. Okay, well here's, you know, whatever it's going to be, like 20 shots, 3s and 3s with now 1 rend. That'll do enough in a lot of situations.
Yeah, and they've got the bomb racks as well, and you get to add a bonus, I think, on the frigate. Yeah, +1 if it's not hurt, so it's on a 3-up, and then the ironclad's on a 2-up unless it's hurt. And they're D3 mortals, so if they all charge the same thing, not only do you do the battering ram attack with the ironclad, but you could have like 4D3 mortals coming through as well, so it's quite a lot of damage.
It's a lot of chip, isn't it? From loads of different sources of different qualities, different rends, different ranges, different phases. Can really add up.
And what's nice about it is you can kind of shoot and see where you didn't quite kill stuff, and then charge and try and finish it off with the bomb racks and the combat profile. Because even like charging it and fighting with the admiral out the boat is quite hefty. And the ironclad's got 18 wounds, 3-up save, can have up to 25 models, but you don't have more than 16 basically, unless you've taken the enhancement.
I wouldn't mind the new cogs in one of these armies actually, just to make that stuff a little bit more reliable.
You love cogs, don't you?
I do.
Every army's got cogs in it.
Now they halve the points for really good reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, potentially. I don't know how useful it is in KO, but yeah, I would. I like the burning head because it's like it just because you're close, it can just do so many mortals. You know, it's just like a 1-shot forget. I mean, it's cheap as well, 20 points, but easy to cast. Yeah, and obviously, like being on turn 1, your admiral can just put like Mystic Shield on the ironclad. You know, like it's like
Enjoy, boys.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I mean, there might be some stuff with like, do you increase your drops? Do you take Magnificent? Do you then go, I'll have an extra artifact? Then do you take, you know, your
to ally in dragons?
Maybe, yeah, maybe ally dragons in. They're pretty good, aren't they, for their points? But yeah, and I don't know. Aether wings are quite a popular ally as well in KO.
Yeah,
but,
makes loads of sense.
Yeah, so you've got the Ironclad, and I think, you know, it's like the beast version. So none of these are monsters, but they are behemoths, so they count as in the formations. They're like the beast symbol. So I think in the old days you probably would have put both the frigates in that one that gives them a pre-game move, but you don't get that anymore because that doesn't exist anymore. The Alpha Beast pack, it was in the last battle pack. So the Ironclad is solid. I mean, like this carbines is 8 shots, you know, freeze, rend 1, damage 2, and then you've got the great cannon on it, which has basically got 6 shots, freeze, rend 1, damage 2, or 1 shot, freeze, 2, rend 2, damage 6. So
and the ranges on the shots as well. You look down the profile, 24, 30, 24, 18, 24, 12.
Yeah. Oh, it's got the torpedoes as well, which it does, which is 4 shots, 4's freeze, rend 1, damage D3. So yeah, it's got quite a bit of shooting.
Tick.
Yeah, so the boats are where it's at, basically. And we spoke a little bit about the Aether Chemist, about what he does with his augmentation, and he's also got this -1 to hit for attacks made by enemy models while they're in free of models, but you can't do that if you're in the garrison. So I believe you could blob him out of the boat, but leave the other stuff in a boat and be at a net -2.
Sneak him somewhere behind.
Yeah. Obviously he's going to be pretty vulnerable then, because he's got like, but you know, it probably doesn't come up very often. Before people start going, oh, it never happens. What are you talking about? I'm like, I know, that's fine.
It's an option. It's always nice to have options.
Yeah, and you've got the navigator. So he's got a rule which is reroll run and charge of friendly sky vessels that are visible. So all your boats can reroll anyway. So that's what
your great big massive floating boats on your flat table.
Yeah, unless you take the Aether Storm, where you pick an enemy within 36 that can fly on a roll of dice. 1, 2, nothing happens. 3 to 5, half their move. On a 6, half the move, and they take D3 mortals. So depends on the turn, I guess. If it's turn 1, you probably don't want the reroll.
There's a lot of options in the list, isn't there? Things that won't come up, you know, whether it's the battle tactics or stuff that won't come up hugely frequently, but it's good to have it there in your back pocket.
Yeah, and I think the key thing about this army is the ability to redeploy it.
Well, that's flexibility.
So you can like teleport, fly high, drop down, shoot stuff. You know, they might charge you. Then you can do stuff like disengage or like fly high again if you've not been hurt too much. You know, so you can then just redeploy over here, shoot them from 24 away. So the whole idea of the army is it's quite hard to get into. All the time it's just deleting stuff.
About keeping your opponent on your terms, not theirs, isn't it? Right. I'm this far away. Well, now I'm charging you, but it's with 1 boat. It's not particularly resilient, but it's in the side of your weakest unit, and I'm just going to be annoying.
And I like you don't have to be like, I'll turn 1, I'm going to teleport and try and shoot everything off. You can be patient. If you're playing against someone with
shooting of that range,
with just like a melee army, if you're playing against Nurgle, you're like, well, yeah, okay, whatever then. You know, I'm just going to chip, and then go for that 1 turn where you just unleash the no ward save ability on the unit you want to kill and then just shoot it. Yeah. And then
pop that purple sun through. Cross fingers.
Extra minuses on the save. So yeah. But that's you know, we thought we'd do a little update on it. And I think if you're playing competitive KO,
they do have game.
They've got a lot of options. It's a very different army.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you've kind of got to play it unlike any other AOS army.
I'd love to do one as a painting project, but I'm not sure if I would like to pick up something that plays that differently. You know, completely the experience that you had.
Yeah, I think it's a different army now. Like, I think I'd enjoy it more now because there's more things and you're in more places and you've got more options.
Whereas Discord clowns out of car and fingers.
That was the army. It was literally drop it, roll your dice. Did you kill them? which is not fun. It's very boring.
Not so much.
So like I much prefer this style, but since this book's come out, I've never felt the draw to go back to them.
Just really want to paint a boat.
Yeah, I mean they're great models. Like I would say, if it's something you want to do, then I think you could do a really killer job with your rust effects and dry brushes. And
also, there's always that temptation where you could have like half your army done in 2 models, and that just feels amazing.
Yeah, and I love the fact that the boats have got lots of little detail on them. So if you want to spend ages like painting like the little guy hanging off the side with the rivet gun and all that, and putting like rust, like the streaks. If you look at all the AK Interactive stuff, where it's basically like all enamels and oil washes and stuff that you could just make the boats look amazing.
Texture pull,
paint chip in, and put your marks on them and stuff. And I think I think it's quite a fun army to play with. It's maybe frustrating to play against if you're not used to it.
Maybe it's frustrating to play with for your first 10, 12 games or something as well, while you're wondering what on earth is going on.
Yeah, I think as well, like it's a bit like Dwarfs of old, like when people who played Dwarfs back in like the old days, where you'd have your guns and you just castle.
Chapel.
It's a disruptor because a lot of people are like, this isn't like normal Warhammer, but there's still a game there.
Yeah.
And I think what the difference with this is that they play a little bit like a disruptor, but you've got movement and you've got ability to move around, which is super good because
well, you need it, because if people get into your GUI center and you've blobbed 2, like if you've allowed people into your castle, it's just going to disintegrate, isn't it?
And like I think I watched I didn't watch it properly because I couldn't really hear the audio, but on the games that Jeremy played, 2 of them have been streamed on this Warbird Battle Labs
scan through,
which I'll show here, so you can check this out. So there's these 2 games here where he's playing the list.
He's everywhere, all over the table, and he's making
you can see like, for example, like where he's got his boats, and then if you skip like later on in the video, they kind of moving around, and he's got the so they're almost like just moving and shooting off the I think he's playing Nighthaunt there. It's very hard to tell because it's top down, so I can't really tell. And then he played against Daughters, the 2 games that were streamed. But I'd say that obviously went 5-0, and it's quite a good list. It's obviously utilising Purple Sun, which seems to be the hotness right now. Haha, pun intended.
I'd love to know how successful it was for him. If he watches, or if anyone who knew how he went at the event, let us know if you racked up anything horrific with the Spell of Doom or not.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a Purple Sun rolled a 1 for something story, right?
Yeah,
because you roll enough dice over a game, so it's going to get sucked away into that vortex of purpleness.
Well, especially when people can't stop the spell, like it's going off.
Well, that's it. So you're going to get one chance at it, and then if they don't get rid of it, you get another go. Every hero phase, it's just blobbing around doing its thing. So, because I guess it's still controlled, it's not wild. So, because you still cast it, right?
It's got quite a decent casting value as well. So to get rid of it, it's not like they need to roll like a 6 or something.
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting army. I do like it. I mean, but I think KO aren't. I think they're one of those armies that never really been like not super competitive, but they're just very different, and not many people play them.
Oh, they're mental. And if I played them, I think they encourage you to go mental so much. I'd be like, I'm going to turn up with 1 Gargant, 1 Ironclad, and like what on earth is that? But that's how I'd approach it if I was going to approach that.
Dragons. Just take dragons.
Tiny army.
Yeah.
Teeny tiny army. Probably worth touching. Like, they got a damn good allies pool. A really good allies pool.
Yeah. Well, they got Stormcast, right? So
they got Stormcast. You could just rock up with 1 Magmadroth in there. Can you? Their points gone up now, haven't they? Actually, if you can fit 5 in if you can fit 6 in an army, they can rock up. They can rock up with.
It's difficult because it needs to be like when you're looking at models, like it depends how many of their rules are baked into the allegiance. I think you're okay obviously, with Magmadroths.
Obviously, you can't turbo the Magmadroth.
320, so
the Uber one.
the problem is a lot of the power with the Dwarfs come from the artifacts and the rune and like, so I don't know, like the whole like fight twice, get bonuses.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
but if you wanted something that was just going to stand there and bleed on people or attract attention while the other stuff flew around, or you wanted 2 dragons to, you know, mainline it up the center, you absolutely could.
With the change to the Dragon's hero phase move, though, I'm not sure they're as viable now.
They're not. I mean, they're where they should have been, but now they might be slightly overpointed.
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They're still swingy. Like, how on earth do you point D6 damage? Hard.
No. I'm not sure, like, would I want dragons or would I want 2 Gunhaulers unchanged? I don't know. Like,
yeah. Oh, they're a bargain.
It's, or do I want a frigate and something? Like, I'm not sure. Like, I'm a bit more of a purist when I play armies. I like to play in my army book.
Just in your allegiance, yeah.
Yeah. I know
mercenaries.
Very different to me, where you're like, yeah, I'll play whatever. But I don't know, I kind of like to stay within my book.
You don't like my Gotrek army?
No.
Kidding.
I don't like Gotrek. Doesn't matter what he's in. So
yeah, I do. If I was doing them, I'd do it as a painting project. So my first port of call would be like, what is a badass model that could look cool with these? Don't know what that'd be. You could have a giant launching a plane or something. Oh, you could use a Dakar jet.
Oh, what, like the 40k orc stuff?
That'd look amazing with a little KO guy in the front.
Yeah, you could actually. Yeah,
that'd look incredible.
It'd look very. I mean, the orky thing for dwarfs. Don't know. You have to see if these Sons of Voltan get aircraft, because if they do, then maybe you can do something.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Actually, that's one of the big appeals of them, isn't it? You can dip into Skaven incredibly well.
Well, I've
with them
seen, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten the chap's name. There's a guy who's got a converted KO army, which is, I don't know if it's a Skaven army that made out of KO bits or it's a KO army made out of Skaven bits, but it's a Skaven.
I know the one is. Yeah. I can't remember the name either, but it's gorgeous. It's really nice, cool. Yeah. I love stuff like that. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I thought we'd just do a quick show on KO because we haven't talked about them for a long time. Jeremy, congratulations on the win. Well done. Thanks, Mike, for tweeting about it, because I wouldn't have saw it if you hadn't tweeted. So appreciate that. And if you've got any lists that you are excited about with KO, if there's a particular skyport that you think would go better, or if you think the formation should be different, or if you actually, I mean, I love the phosphate bombs with the dirigible suit guy, because it's like you could just delete a unit and that's great fun. So, but I don't know if that's, you know, if it's the best thing, but it's fun. So, because I really like the bobble men. I don't like building them, 23 pieces of model, just saying. But I like.
Done it.
I'm building bliss barbs at the moment and want to kill myself. So, and these are bad enough as well. Like these things.
They're awful.
Yeah.
Worst range for assembly in the game.
I know. I'm just hoping if I can get through the assembly and get to the contrast point, I'll be all right. It's just I've got to get through the assembly before I run out of steam. So I've built my keeper, I've built Sinessa, I've built I've got Sigvold already, I've got 5 Myrmidish, I've got 11 Bliss Barbs already assembled. I've got the Shrine, Purple Suns assembled. And I've got some more guys. I've got the Untamed Beast to build. I've changed my list up from the last show. I'm going to do 10 Painbringers and 5 Slick Blades, just because I want some different cavalry type. I don't want to have too much of the same thing. I like the Slick
Blades. I think they're pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, I think we're in Bounty Hunters as well. So that's the KO show. Let us know what you think. If you got inspired to do a KO army, then great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something that I always get tempted, because I've put a lot of effort into building my army.
Visuals. Yeah.
And I like them, and I'm like, oh, do I do it? And then I'm always like, just stepping
really
back.
Want to paint them, don't necessarily want to play them.
No, that's the problem.
Yeah. Same.
But they did seem super interesting looking at those. You can watch those battle reports back and give the Jeremy a follow, give Mike a follow, give the have a check out the Warbird Battle Labs on Twitch. I'm not really a Twitch person, but they can go check out. They've got some Warhammer on there. So if you want to watch those 2 games back, you can. The audio is not great, but you can still see how the list worked and how it was played.
What shapes they're making. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Absolutely. Objective markers are back in stock if people want to put their boats all over the table and make sure that they're within 6 inches.
Oh, that's true.
Link will be below.
Yeah, so you can order those from Element for the link in the description, and that helps us out. So appreciate that.
All right. See you in a bit, guys.
Catch you later.
Bye.